Emotional healing after 60 often begins in silence. Not the silence of peace, but the kind that grows between loved ones after things fall apart. When words are no longer spoken. When a father and his children stop reaching for each other. A quiet distance forms slow, cold, and painful. The mother in this story didn't choose sides. She simply stood between them, heart heavy, wishing her children wouldn't carry their anger into old age. Because when silence lasts too long, it becomes a wall. And sometimes, that wall turns family into strangers. This isn't just her story. It's one many families know too well, where love fades, not from hate, but from things left unsaid. Still, some parents grow old, hoping that one day, a child will return and say, "Mom, I'm home." And maybe, just maybe, that healing begins with one story, like this one. Linda, 78 years old, still remembers it clearly. It's been 12 years since she and her husband separated, but their children have never spoken to their father since. Their family used to have peaceful days, not wealthy, but full of laughter. Her husband Paul wasn't the affectionate type. He rarely said, "I love you," but he worked tirelessly to support the family. But because of that, he missed out on most of the moments that mattered. When their son fell off his bike, Paul was away on business. When their daughter went to prom, he had a late-night meeting. These small moments kept repeating until the space between father and children quietly grew wider. Linda had told him many times, "You should make more time for the kids." And he always replied, "When I retire, I'll make it up to them." But time, especially a child's time, waits for no one. When they finally divorced, there was no yelling, no tears, just silence heavy, like a winter afternoon. What broke Linda's heart wasn't the divorce itself, but how the children responded. They completely cut their father out of their lives. No visits to court, no phone calls, no birthday cards. As if he had never been a part of them. Linda once saw Paul, his hair completely gray, quietly sitting on a park bench near their daughter's wedding. He didn't dare walk in. He just wanted to see his little girl in her wedding dress from afar. That night, he sat alone in his car. And Linda says she still hears that sigh in her heart to this day. She didn't try to excuse him. But she didn't want their children to carry that hatred forever either. Linda began meditating. Not to become enlightened, but to find a quiet place inside where she could sit with her helplessness and meet it not with anger, but with compassion. During one meditation, she heard a line that stayed with her. "When you light a lamp, even if no one comes back, at least you're no longer sitting in the dark." And she understood. Healing isn't about forcing forgiveness. It's about planting seeds with kindness, with understanding, so that when someone is ready, they know the way back. She started writing letters to her children. No guilt trips, no blame, just stories about their father. A man who never said much, but gave his whole life to working for their family. In her letters, she didn't talk about the past, she spoke of hope. She didn't bring up mistakes, simply spoke of love. And though she didn't know whether they would read them or not, she knew this one thing: she had planted a seed. Linda understood she couldn't change what happened, but she could live this moment fully, with kindness in her heart, and the quiet trust that, no matter how far a child may go, deep down, they're always longing for a place to return to. There are stories that don't need explanations. Just by listening deeply, we find ourselves in them. Maybe you are the father who stayed silent too long. Maybe you are the mother carrying the distance between generations. Or maybe you are the child holding wounds you've never named. Whoever you are, this story speaks to something very human. That love, if not nurtured with patience, understanding, and kindness, can wither over time. And distance doesn't always need a fight. Sometimes just a long silence is enough. But if we pause, if we truly reflect, even from brokenness, something precious can grow. Not just understanding others, but coming home to ourselves and healing from within. So let's begin by listening to 4 gentle lessons, born from silence, spoken from a mother's heart, and illuminated by the quiet clarity of the Buddha's teachings. Lesson 1. To truly love, we must first understand. Have you ever sat quietly, thinking of someone in your family, and suddenly realized you may have misunderstood them your whole life? Maybe you thought they were cold. Maybe you believed they didn't love you. But when you look a little deeper, you might see they actually tried, they just didn't know how. The father in the story we just heard, he wasn't a bad man. He was just silent for far too long. He expressed love by providing, not through words or warm embraces like his children longed for. And so, those children, they grew up feeling something was missing. No walks hand in hand. No, I'm proud of you. Just absence on every milestone that truly mattered. Emotional neglect, over time, becomes pain. Unseen pain turns into anger. And anger, when never understood, becomes distance. That distance grows year after year until no one knows how to bridge it anymore. In the Theravada Buddhist teachings, the Buddha said, "When the mind is clouded by ignorance, we only see part of the truth, and from that, suffering arises." To understand, in Buddhism, isn't to guess what someone's thinking. It means to see clearly, to recognize the root of a person's behavior. And when we truly see, the heart softens. Blame fades. Compassion takes its place. If those children could look again, they might see that behind their father's absence was the pressure of putting food on the table. Behind his quiet nature was a heart that never learned how to speak love out loud. It wasn't that he didn't love, he just didn't know how to love in the way they needed. Have you ever experienced something like that? A father who seemed too strict, but now you miss the sound of his clearing his throat every night. A mother who rarely hugged you, but always got up early to make your favorite breakfast? A child who gave you short, distant answers, but was quietly drowning in pressure they didn't know how to share? Dear friend, if any of that feels familiar, then maybe this lesson is for you. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught, a wise person sees the causes and conditions behind every action. They don't judge based on appearances, nor do they rush to conclusions fueled by emotion. Because every action, whether rooted in love or hurt, has a reason behind it. Understanding that allows us to see with wisdom, not with judgment. That absent father? Maybe he was raised to believe men don't cry, men don't show weakness. That sharp-tongued mother? Maybe no one ever listened to her pain. That easily frustrated child? Maybe they've been holding in too much for far too long. When we begin to place ourselves in someone else's shoes, we realize their pain isn't so different from our own. And in that shared humanity, love can finally bloom without judgment. The mother in this story never took sides. She didn't blame her husband. She didn't force her children to return. She simply began with something very small. She looked again, but this time through the eyes of understanding. She saw that her ex-husband, though silent, carried his own pain. She saw that her children, though distant, were once kids longing for their father's warmth. And that gentle recognition softened her heart. No more resentment, no more anger. Just a quiet heart, patiently waiting for the day someone might choose to speak first. If you're holding sadness towards someone right now, someone close, someone who once meant the world to you, you might ask yourself one simple question. Have I truly understood them enough to be able to love them? Understanding doesn't mean agreeing. It doesn't mean allowing the pain to continue. It simply means seeing clearly, recognizing that some things, when we look deep enough, can dissolve our anger and lighten our hearts. This mother chose to see with understanding. And from that clear seeing, she began a journey of healing, not through preaching or pressure, but through silent compassion. Sometimes, to open a door, you don't need to knock hard. You just need to sit, Light a gentle lamp and believe. If there is still love, sooner or later, someone will return. You can begin today. You don't need to change anything big. Just sit quietly for a moment and think of that person, not with blame, but with a desire to truly understand. Because when we understand, that's when love truly begins. And where there is love, healing is always possible. Lesson 2. Let go of anger to keep peace in your heart. There's something almost every person over 60 begins to notice. The older we get, the more easily painful memories return. Not because we've become weaker, but because the mind, no longer so distracted by the outside world, starts to turn inward, toward the things we've never truly healed. And among those inner wounds, anger is often the deepest. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always cry. But it quietly eats away at our peace, day by day. It steals our sleep. It makes us remember someone not with a smile, but with a sigh. The mother in the story you just heard, she felt heartbreak watching her children cut all ties with their father. Standing in the middle, she didn't blame her kids. She didn't defend her ex-husband. But each time she saw him sitting alone in the park, hair now silver white, her heart clenched. She wanted so many times to tell her children, "Please, forgive your father." But she knew you can't force the heart. So she chose something else. She forgave him first quietly, within her own heart. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like punishing yourself for someone else's mistake." Because the one who holds the anger is the first to suffer. In Theravada Buddhism, anger is seen as one of the 3 fires that burn the heart, along with greed and delusion. Anger clouds our vision. It turns loved ones into strangers. And if left unexamined, it collects beneath the surface, like a slow, toxic river under the appearance of peace. Anger isn't always yelling or blaming. Sometimes it's silence that lingers too long. It's choosing not to call during the holidays. It's hearing their name and your chest tightens. It's seeing them smile and feeling nothing. That's still anger. And that's still suffering. This mother knew she didn't have much time left to live with that kind of pain. So she let go. Not because she was stronger than others, but because she chose to live the rest of her life in peace. Are you holding anger in your heart towards someone? Someone who once hurt you? A child who stopped calling? A former spouse whose name you no longer say out loud? If so, sit down for a moment and ask yourself gently, how much longer do I want to carry this pain? Forgiveness doesn't mean agreement. It doesn't mean saying they were right. It doesn't mean forgetting everything that happened. Forgiveness simply means stopping the past from continuing to wear you down in the present. Stopping the self-punishment for what someone else did. Stopping so you can protect the one treasure you still hold, your peace. In the Sa Utanik Ya, the Buddha spoke of loving kindness. Met. Just as a mother protects her only child with her life, so should one cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings. And first, that loving kindness must begin with yourself. The wise don't stay angry for long. Those who practice mindfulness know, every time anger arises, the body tightens, the heart races, the mind spins. And from that awareness, they choose to let go. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. Because only when our hands are no longer clenched with anger can we hold something far more precious, peace. This mother chose to let go not with logic, but with love. She began meditating, practicing Met. She breathed in to remember she was still alive. She breathed out to release what no longer served her. And even when her children didn't reply, didn't call back, didn't forgive, she remained at peace. Because she realized that peace was no longer dependent on them. It had bloomed within her own heart. Dear friend, it's possible that the person you're angry with may never apologize. They may never come back. And what happened may never be explained. But you can still choose one thing: to protect your peace for the rest of your life. You deserve that. Not because they've changed, but because you're ready to heal. Like the mother in the story, you can begin with just one breath. You can begin with one kind intention each morning. You can begin by choosing not to speak ill, not to hold grudges, not to imprison yourself in old anger. And peace will return. Not with loud footsteps, but quietly, because it was always there, in every moment you choose to let go. Holding on to anger might make you feel like you won a moment in the past, but letting go lets you win your present life. If today you let go of even one small thing, tomorrow your heart will feel just a little lighter, and bit by bit you'll be coming home to yourself. Because keeping peace in your heart may be the only thing left you can do, and also the most sacred thing you could ever offer this life. Lesson 3. Accepting what is and living fully in the present with loving kindness. There's a truth that only those who've walked through more than half a lifetime can truly feel. Not everything can be changed. Not everyone will return. And not every hope we hold will unfold the way we wish. The more we cling, resist, or wish the past were different, the more exhausted the heart becomes. Until one day, we have to stop and accept. But dear friend, acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is when we pause to breathe. It's when we stop swimming against the current of life and begin to float with awareness and loving kindness. The mother in our story, she couldn't change the past. She couldn't rewind time to make her busy husband stay home more. She couldn't send her children back to childhood to hear a simple, "I love you" from their father. But she could do one thing, and she chose to do it every single day. She lived in the present with gratitude and a gentle heart. She didn't wait for a phone call to feel joy. She didn't need clear outcomes to smile. Each morning, she quietly watered her little garden by the porch. Each evening, she lit a stick of incense and sent out a soft prayer. A wish carried on the wind for the children who no longer called. No demands, no expectations. Just a love that asked for nothing in return. In the Buddha's earliest teachings, it is said, "Life is suffering. This is the first noble truth, dukkha." And part of that suffering is our refusal to accept what is. When we try to change what has already passed, when we resist how life unfolds, when we demand that others live according to our hopes, that is when we create more suffering. Wisdom isn't measured by what we can do. It's measured by what we can truly see. And those who see clearly recognize the limits of what can be controlled. From that place, they begin to live more fully, without regret, without resistance. Dear friend, are you still trying to change something in your past? A word that was said too harshly? A loved one who left too soon? A distance that still hasn't closed? If so, ask yourself gently, am I living in this present moment? Or am I stuck in memories I can no longer rewrite? And if the answer brings you pain, maybe it's time to consider something softer. Acceptance, not to let go of hope, but to bring light back into the present. The mother didn't blame her children for not calling. She didn't resent her husband for all that had passed. She didn't cling. She didn't try to forget. She simply lived with no anger, no expectations, no waiting. In the Metta Sutta, the Buddha taught, even amidst hatred, the one who lives with loving kindness holds no hate. Even without receiving love, they continue to love, like the earth, never scorning those who dig into it. Loving kindness doesn't need to be returned. It only needs to be nurtured in silence, in simplicity, because that loving kindness is the only place where peace truly lives in our later years. To live fully doesn't mean doing a lot. To live fully means being truly present with what is, with a heart free of judgment. When watering a plant, be aware that you're watering. When cooking a meal, know that you're nourishing your body. When sitting in stillness, realize, I am alive and I am enough. That is mindfulness. That is the present moment. And that is the doorway to freedom from suffering. This mother, she started writing letters, not to beg, but to share the past, to share a love that never disappeared, even without a single reply. She kept writing because she knew the true gift was not the letters themselves, but the peace she found while writing them. You can be like her too. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to repair the past. You just need to come back to this moment and live it with a heart free from resentment. You can't undo what has already happened, but you can begin something new today with a deep breath, a whisper of gratitude, and a prayer sent forth in loving kindness. In the end, life isn't measured by what we managed to hold on to, but by what we were able to release and still smile. Acceptance to feel at ease, loving kindness to live lightly. And the present moment is the one true gift left to us, if only we pause long enough to receive it. When the heart softens, the whole world softens too. And in that gentle space sometimes, a door you thought was closed quietly opens. Lesson 4. Returning to yourself in every situation through Anapana breathing meditation. There are times in life when we've tried everything to mend what's been broken. We've said all the things we were holding inside. We've written letters, made phone calls, reached out once then again. But the response was silence. No reply. No one came forward. Nothing changed. And in that quiet moment of letting go, something inside us understands. It's no longer time to keep reaching outward. It's time to return inward. The mother in our story felt the same. She had written letters. She had prayed. She had hoped her children would come to understand. But when time passed and nothing shifted, she didn't blame. She didn't complain. She simply sat down, not to wait, not to drift in memories, but to return to herself. She began practicing Anapana, the most basic form of meditation, yet also one of the most profound gateways to inner stillness. Anapana, or mindful breathing, is not a ritual. It doesn't require chanting. It doesn't need images or a teacher. All it asks is this: sit down, keep your back straight, and observe the breath as it flows in and out through the nose. Softly, gently, just as life itself is happening moment by moment. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught, the practitioner observes the in-breath and out-breath mindfully to bring an end to suffering. Why is breath alone so powerful? Because breath is the present. No one breathes for yesterday. No one breathes for tomorrow. When we return to the breath, we return to the only moment where life is truly happening now. And in that moment, if we are still, even if the world around us is noisy and uncertain, our heart has a refuge. Each day, this mother set aside a few quiet minutes. She didn't meditate to get a phone call. She didn't wait for results. She simply breathed in knowing she was alive, breathed out knowing she was here. And slowly, day by day, she began to feel lighter, less burdened, less disappointed. She no longer needed others to understand her, because she had come to understand herself. Dear friend, how many times in your life have you forgotten you? How many times have you tried so hard to please someone else that you lost your own voice? How often have you chased the past or rushed toward the future, forgetting that you are breathing right now, in this very moment? Breathing meditation isn't just a spiritual practice. It's a deep, quiet form of healing for body, heart, and mind. Modern science confirms what ancient wisdom already knew. Slow breathing calms the heart rate. Observing the breath helps regulate the nervous system. And when we return to the breath, The brain releases dopamine and endorphins, easing anxiety, soothing painful memories. But the most important part isn't in the science. It's in the experience. That no matter what's happening around us, there is always a place within us to return to. This mother, once living in quiet longing, became someone who cherished each moment of life. She didn't need her children to come back anymore, because she had already returned, not to a place, but to herself. And you know what? When someone returns to themselves, they finally become truly present for others. You can begin right now. You don't need much. Just one quiet moment. Sit down, close your eyes, relax your shoulders, and simply notice. Breath in, breath out. Don't try to control it. Just observe. And at some point, in that stillness, you may see everything you've been searching for out there was always here, in this breath. This life is full of things beyond our control, but one thing is always within reach: our mindful presence with the breath. To return to the breath is to return to yourself. And only when we return to ourselves can we truly live, truly understand, truly love, and be fully present for this world. There is no place more peaceful than the breath, no moment more precious than now, and no journey more real than the journey back to yourself. If you've stayed with me this far, I believe you too have walked through many seasons of sun and storm, and have begun learning to come home, not through theory, but through breath, simple, quiet, and real. Aging is not the time to hold on tightly. It is the time to release with grace. Release anger. Release waiting. Release the things you cannot change. If you still have the strength to sit quietly for just a few minutes each day, treasure it. It is a gift. Because your breath, so simple, so constant, is the most faithful friend helping you live this life deeply. And if you've never meditated before, don't worry. You don't need experience. Just a quiet space, a steady chair, and a heart ready to come home. The Buddha said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." And the breath is your first lamp, softly lighting the path from within. You don't have to be great at meditation. Just be genuine, fully present, with sincerity and gratitude. If you've ever tried meditating, or if you're just now beginning, feel free to share your experience below. Who knows, what you write may reach someone else who's quietly searching for peace. And if you'd like me to guide you through Anapana meditation, from posture to breath awareness to release, watch the next video. A simple, gentle guide to Anapana breathing for older adults. Easy, calming, and effective. Thank you for being here. With a warm heart, soft eyes, and a spirit that never stops learning, I'll see you in the next video, where we won't say much. We'll just sit together and breathe.